Redline logbook here for Wistoria chapter 49. And we start off where we left off with Will successfully cutting Zero's hand. And as a man of his word, Zero decides to keep his word and tells Will an important piece of information that he needs to know, which is that Gotha is most likely after the key of Ball. Now, I assumed Ball was the girl's name that was the puppet master, but her name actually gets revealed in this chapter. It's Shady. So the girl is Shady. Don't worry about her right now. But Ball is apparently a key that has the ability to destroy the barrier that protects the tower. So when Shady said their goal was to destroy the tower, she meant literally to destroy the tower. They're not after the Magic Wanda, as Liana was able to guess. No, their tower was the whole goal. In fact, specifically the key to destroy the barrier, which would then allow them to destroy the tower itself, which is the pillar that basically holds up the heavens. Now that he has his information, that's when Zero decides to tell Will the plan. They're going to the 50th floor of the dungeon. They're going to break Old Man Aron's record of dungeon exploration, and Will and Liana are going to join them. Will obviously is completely against this. He's like, wait. What about the intruders? What about the traitors? What about the puppets? We have to deal with that right now. We can't be going into the dungeon. They'd strike when an entire faction is missing. And Zero's response makes a lot of sense, which is, if the tower can be destroyed by this group of remnants of Gotha, then there's no way that we're going to survive when the heavens finally breaks and the Celestials come down and destroy us. The tower will be fine. But what we need to concern about is the heavens finally coming to an end and the Celestials coming down. We need to get stronger. Everyone needs to get stronger. And the best way to do that is to go into the dungeon. And so you're just going to have to trust everyone else while we go on our expedition. That's when we skip back over to Shady. She's currently with the leadership of Ball. They're having their meeting again, and she's losing her shit over the fact that she got her ass kicked. She's desperate to basically capture Will now. It's unclear if she wants him alive or dead, but her orders are to take him alive, so she might actually be disobeying orders at this point. It really depends if she can follow the plan or give into her rage, really. Anyway, apparently the main goal of the puppets is to get into a certain room. This room has the Collius panel, which apparently has the ability to control the entire tower, including the guardians within the tower. So if her puppets are able to get into that room, they basically have control over the entire place. In fact, we actually get to see one of her puppets actually go towards it. Some dude named Tarvis Harvey. He doesn't matter because it's being guarded by Klaus, who immediately just takes the dude out. With him is Charles, and Klaus does not smell any flowers on Charles, so he assumes he's not a puppet, but he still could be a traitor. And so he's basically going through calculations in his head to figure out, hey, what am I supposed to do? I guess I'm the only person I can trust. I'll keep everyone at bay. No one is allowed to come anywhere near this panel. Now, the way it's formatted, this whole section, it looks like Charles is one thinking in his head, and then it switches over to Klaus. But no, the whole time it's Charles. He's actually thinking and predicting what Klaus is actually thinking to himself right now, which heavily indicates that Charles might be a traitor or that he just really knows his boss really well. It's unclear, but that's the whole point of this entire chapter. It's basically meant to be not just reveal that they're traitors, but also to make you suspicious of a bunch of characters. So Charles is one of those characters that's being hinted that is a traitor, but once again, it's unclear. That's when we jump over to the Dark faction, where we're with Mike Myers, and he's currently talking to a girl named Andy Rocks. Angie is a member of Class 401, so she's part of Will's and all their class, so she's basically also a spy. And they're discussing the puppets and the traitors and things like that, and they're basically freaking out. Well, Mike Myers is. Angie seems to be a very cold and calm individual. And out of nowhere, a member of the Dark faction then jumps on the back of Mike Myers. Her name is Morta, and she basically is trying to figure out what's going on. Why is Mike Myers freaking out at the moment? And he's about to tell her. That is when Angie grabs Mike, pulls him away, and basically the two just walk in another direction. So basically, she's the brains of their operation. Well, I wouldn't say Mike Myers is dumb. He just lacks composure is the issue. And this is a good thing because it's quickly revealed that Morta is in fact a traitor, or at least one of them. She puts on a mask of Gotha. And because Mike Myers was screaming so loudly and he mentioned puppets and traitors, she overheard this, and this basically confirmed Gotha's suspicions that Class 104 was being used as a spy to infiltrate the entire tower to hunt down the traitors. So yeah, he fucked up there. Also, she'd like to kill all of them, but apparently not just Will, but all of Class 401 has been ordered to be turned into puppets, so that means there won't be any more people being killed like Julius. Speaking of Julius, we then go to the Ice faction and we see two of his friends who are plotting revenge against the puppeteer, the murderer of Julius. And there's another member of Class 401 there, and she's basically thinking to herself, these two are idiots. They're weaker than Julius and they actually think they can get revenge. This is stupid. Her name is Mimi. And on top of the fact that she thinks these two are idiots, she also doesn't want anything to do with this. Even though The job description is for the mages of the tower to one day take on the Celestials. She seems to have no interest in fighting whatsoever. She has no interest in doing any of this. I don't even understand why she decided to become a mage of the tower. And what makes it even worse for this girl is that she sees Elfie as a useless leader who isn't doing anything. That's when the knocking at the door happens, and she answers it, and behind it is a colorless, delivering a package of orbs that are supposed to be protective charms, all created by Elfie to protect the Ice faction. While that does make sense, that is something that Elfie would do, the problem is, while this guy might have her signature, it could be a forge. Like, this guy might actually just be a traitor, and these magic items that are supposed to be protective charms are actually a magic item that activates at a certain point that turns them all into, like, ice statues or whatever. I'm not entirely sure. That's the thing. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that Elfie would do this so indirectly. Why use a colorless? So this is just a very suspicious situation. Plus, the colorless kind of looks like the assassin who works with Headless, so it's not a one-to-one, but they could just be brothers or something like that. We jump over to the Wind faction, where we meet two more members of Class 401, Terry and Colin. They're both discussing the fact that another member of the Wind faction, not just Anna, was a puppet, which makes them suspicious that a large number of people in the Wind faction are probably puppets, which means the traitor that they're looking for is in their faction. And before they can finish discussing this, that is when the leader of the Wind faction, Arn, shows up and asks them what's wrong, because they got really scared, worried faces going on. Obviously, they suspect that he might be a traitor, or at least there's a possibility, and so they just book it. Arn's reaction was not what I was expecting. The man falls to his knees and starts to wail. Apparently, he generally was worried about them and wanted to prove that he's a great leader and he's able to ease their worries, but instead, he scared them off, and so now he just feels ashamed and he feels like a loser. That's when his right hand walks up, Monica, and he immediately just jumps on her, starts crying, saying that he's a failure as a leader. He can't do this job. He shouldn't be the one in charge. He'll never ascend them to the tops as a magic wand or whatever. And she's like, yeah, no, I agree. You're a terrible leader, but you can still do this job. Just keep working hard like you always do. And then he asks her for his candy, and with probably the most evil look in her face, she says, no, you can wait just a little bit longer. Now, this could be one of two things. One, this could be a red herring again, just like the last time, where this could literally be candy and he's just insane. Or could be the traitor, in which case this candy is actually just a drug, and he's just addicted to some kind of drug, and she's basically his supplier. In which case, that is actually a brilliant way to control someone who's the head of a faction. Just get them addicted to a drug, and then you can just manipulate them however you see fit. It wouldn't be very hard, because if you're the only one who can supply that drug to them, you basically own them. So the night before the expedition, Liana and Will are actually having a meeting about what they're going to do, because obviously the tower is going to be in danger as soon as an entire faction leaves the tower. And Will's like, I have a plan. Finn, on the other hand, is always doing what he does, watching from a distance, and he's enjoying himself. He's like, I wonder who the traitor is. Guess we're going to find out soon. And so the night passes, and we go into the next day, where the Thunder faction is getting all hyped up because they're about to enter the dungeon, go on their expedition. And what we see is Clonette and Wignell are in these trench coat hoodie things, which heavily implies this was part of Will's plan to have these two either investigate inside the tower while the Thunder faction is gone, basically play spy within the Thunder faction to see if there's any traitors within there, or they're going to follow behind the Thunder faction in the expedition. I have my doubts on that because Will and Liana can handle that themselves. They can keep an eye on the Thunder faction within the dungeon. So I'm going to go with the first idea, which is that Wignell and Clonette are going to basically go root around inside the Thunder faction area and basically try to dig up any dirt they can. And the chapter ends off with the Fire faction with Sion, who is still training. So this man has not stopped a single day, which is impressive. And he's basically asked, hey, what are you going to do now that the Thunder faction is disappearing? What's the plan? And if I'm being completely honest, I don't think Sion is going to make a move this arc. I feel like he's going to finish his training, and then in the next arc, he's then going to make his move. Or he's going to make his move at the end of this arc when everything is already going to hell, and he basically swoops in to save the day, in a sense. Because while Sion does care about his friends, he's also the most practical out of all of them, and he understands that brute force is really the answer that he can do. He wants to be stronger than Will, so I don't think he's going to stop training until he knows he's strong enough to at least keep up with Will and be of use on the battlefield. So this is probably going to be the last time we see Sion this arc for a while. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, give it a thumbs up so you enjoy more Wistoria and other my things. Thank you and have a great day.